I'm Natalie. I'm 42 years old. And for the longest time, I truly believed that being a cool mom meant constantly giving up little pieces of yourself, your time, your energy, your needs, your voice, so your child could shine. I didn't just believe that. I lived it. I wore it like a second skin. But I never expected that one day, my daughter would shine by stepping over me. Her name is Brielle. She turned 17 just last month, and she's beautiful in that perfectly curated, Instagram filtered way. I mean that with both love and a strange kind of ache. Her hair always falls just right. She has that glow every teen influencer seems to master. And her room? Think Pinterest dream board, fairy lights, plants in cute ceramic pots. A color scheme that would make an interior designer weep with joy. She has 80,000 TikTok followers. Yeah, 80,000. Just from posting her daily outfits, doing get ready with me videos, and sharing aesthetic routines of skincare and study setups. I remember when she reached 10K followers, she burst into my bedroom, nearly tackled me on the couch, and squealed into my ear like she just won the lottery. I was so happy for her. She's built a life online, a whole personality, and honestly, she's good at it. She has hustle, she has style, and she knows exactly what people want to see. But here's the thing, none of them want to see me. Somewhere along the way, she created this image, this pristine, dreamy world, and in that world, I don't exist. Not in any meaningful way. Not as her mother. I'm more like an old backdrop. Or worse, a stain. I've never been the glamorous kind of mom. You won't catch me in yoga pants and matcha smoothies. My jeans are faded from years of wear, and most of my sweaters came from the thrift store or clearance racks. I tie my hair up not for style, but for survival, because after working 2 shifts, the last thing I want is strands of hair sticking to my sweaty neck. I raised Brielle alone. Her father walked out when she was 2. He left a note on the kitchen table saying he was sorry, but he had to find himself. Turns out he found himself in a yoga retreat in Arizona with a woman named Star who believed in healing crystals and open relationships. He never looked back, never called, so I became everything. I was her mother, her father, her provider, her protector. I scrubbed toilets, flipped pancakes in diners, stacked shelves in the graveyard shift. I skipped dinners to afford her ballet lessons. I borrowed from rent money, so she could get braces and not have to hide her smile. I made her Halloween costumes by hand because we couldn't afford the ones at Target, and I was proud to do it. I still am. But nothing prepares you for the moment you realize the child you gave everything to sees you as something to be hidden. It happens slowly at first. She'd crop me out of photos, or insist I not tag her in anything. She'd correct me if I used the wrong slang, roll her eyes if I wore a cardigan that didn't match the vibe. I chalked it up to teenage stuff. Kids want space, they want control, right? But then came the night that broke me. It was her school's awards ceremony. Brielle was getting 2 awards, one for academic excellence and one for leadership in community. I remember sitting at the edge of my bed that afternoon, holding a wrinkled blouse I hadn't worn since my high school reunion. I ironed it twice. I even put on mascara, which I hadn't done in years. My hand shook the whole time, and I had to redo it twice after poking my eye. I was nervous, stupidly nervous, like a first date kind of nervous, but not because I didn't belong, because I so badly wanted her to be proud to be seen with me. When I walked into the school auditorium, she was already with her group of friends. She looked up and saw me, and in that instant, her entire expression shifted. She blinked once, twice, then her face curled into something I hadn't seen from her since she was in kindergarten. A mix of confusion, irritation, and, dare I say, embarrassment. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. She didn't say, "Hey, Mom, over here." I stood there, clutching my small purse like a shield, heart racing in my chest, and forced a smile. Then I heard her voice. She was standing a few feet away, talking to one of her friends in a whisper that was loud enough for my heart to hear. She ruins my vibe. I told her to wait outside, but she just had to come in like that. It was like someone poured ice water into my lungs. I just froze. I backed away, pretending to get a drink of water. I stood in the hallway, by the vending machines and let the noise of the crowd drown me out. She never introduced me to anyone. Not her teacher, not her friends, not even when she accepted her awards. She didn't mention me, not even once. I watched her from the shadows, watched her light up the stage, smile for the camera, bask in the applause. And not for a second did she glance over her shoulder to see if her mother, the one who spent 17 years breaking herself so she could shine, was watching. When we drove home later that night, the car was quiet. I didn't say anything, and neither did she. She scrolled through her phone, liking comments and reposting congratulatory messages, and I just stared out the window. That night, after she went to bed, I sat on the kitchen floor with a glass of water and cried like I hadn't cried in years. Not even when her dad left. Not even when the electricity was cut off for 2 days during winter. This was worse, because this wasn't abandonment from a stranger. It was rejection from the very soul I helped build. The next morning, I woke up with puffy eyes and a decision burning in my chest. I didn't speak to Brielle, not out of spite, but because I knew words wouldn't matter. Not yet. She'd just roll her eyes, call me dramatic, and brush it off. That's how it had become between us, me talking, her tuning out. So instead of confronting her, I went silent. Not angry silent, not icy or manipulative, just present but distant. She noticed. Of course she did. When I didn't offer to take her outfit photos in the golden hour light, she casually mentioned, "I thought we were going to shoot today?" I told her I had laundry to finish. She didn't push it. When she asked me for money to order new press-on nails, I said gently, "I'll have to check. Money's a little tight this week." She groaned and walked away. I didn't follow. And when she got her monthly subscription box, the one I had set up for her 2 birthdays ago, she didn't even say thank you. She opened it in her room, posted an unboxing, and never acknowledged me. But I was watching. Every little moment. Not to judge. To remember. That week, I did something I hadn't done in over a decade. I bought a small spiral notebook, the kind I used to journal in before motherhood swallowed all my free time. I wrote one line on the first page. How to remind someone who they're made of. It started as a list, receipts, dates, screenshots, bills. Not out of revenge, not yet, but out of a need to ground myself, to stop doubting whether I was being too sensitive, to remember that I wasn't crazy for feeling invisible in my own daughter's life. I listed $93.27, her pastel comforter and throw pillows, aesthetic bedroom. $249.99, her iPhone upgrade. $79, custom LED name sign she wanted for her wall. $14.99 per MO, Spotify Premium, because, and I quote, ads kill the mood, mom. $18 matcha powder, but only from the Korean store. It added up fast, but money wasn't the point. It was what it represented. Time, effort, thoughtfulness, sacrifice, love. The very things she had repackaged into something disposable, something that ruined her vibe. One night, I scrolled through her public Instagram feed. There were dozens of pictures, her posing in vintage jeans, holding bubble tea, lounging in flower fields, hugging friends. Perfectly filtered, warm, soft. There wasn't a single picture of me. Not one. I wasn't part of her story, not even as a footnote. But I knew something else. Her followers believed it. They thought she lived in a dreamy, well-balanced life. Supportive family, cozy evenings, morning matcha, affirmation walls, sweet captions about gratitude. And maybe that's what made it sting most. She had taken pieces of me, my sacrifices, my effort, my support, and polished them into content, cutting me out of the frame entirely. That's when the idea clicked. Not out of bitterness, but because she needed to see it. Not through words, through reality, her own reflection. So I waited. I started preparing for her 17th birthday without her even realizing. She had mentioned in passing that she wanted a backyard party, rustic, soft color palette, nothing cringe. She sent me a mood board with beige tones, sage green napkins, vintage glass bottles, and of course, fairy lights. She said, "It needs to feel organic, you know?" I said yes, smiled. took notes, told her I'd handle everything. She was thrilled. She even texted me, "This might be the one time I trust you with my vision." That hurt, too. She made me promise I wouldn't wear anything with prints or mom jeans. She asked me not to make a speech unless it was cute and short. Again, I smiled and nodded. But this time, I was planning something entirely different. I didn't want to hurt her. I wanted to wake her up. I didn't want revenge. I wanted recognition. I didn't want to humiliate her. I wanted her to finally see me. The party would go exactly as she dreamed. But so would my moment. The week leading up to Brielle's birthday, I didn't sleep much. Every detail had to be perfect. The caterer, the string lights, the Spotify playlist with ambient indie beats. I even ordered hand calligraphed name cards for each table. I wanted everything to match the vibe she so desperately protected. She had no idea I was making a presentation of my own. I'd borrowed a projector from the school where my friend teaches. I'd built a slideshow in secret, using Canva after she went to sleep. My palms sweated every time I worked on it. Part of me kept wondering, is this too much? Is this cruel? But then I'd replay her words in my head. "I don't want people knowing you're my mom. You ruined my aesthetic." That line didn't just hurt, it haunted. I wasn't doing this to embarrass her. I was doing this because someday she'd look back and either remember a mom who let herself disappear quietly, or one who reminded her, lovingly and boldly, "I'm here." I was always here. The night of the party, the backyard glowed. Fairy lights draped from the trees. Soft music played. The tables were Pinterest perfect, sage napkins, mismatched vintage teacups, flowers in little mason jars. Brielle floated around in a pale pink satin dress, laughing with her friends, filming stories on her phone, everything looking effortless. She even pulled me aside and whispered, "Mom, you nailed it." This is exactly what I wanted. I smiled. My heart twisted, because in less than 20 minutes, I'd be lighting a fuse. After the cake, she stood in the middle of the yard as her friends circled around. Phones ready, filters set. "Do you want to say something?" she asked me casually, turning her back, expecting some sweet one-liner like, "Happy birthday, pumpkin." Instead, I walked up to the mic. The projector behind me flickered to life. "Hi everyone," I began. My voice shook just a little. "I'm Natalie. I'm Brielle's mom. And I just wanted to share a few thoughts about what it takes to build a life that looks this good." Brielle's smile faltered. She turned slowly. The first slide appeared on the screen. A photo of our electric bill, $297.46, marked paid. Caption, "So you could plug in your ring light and film your dreams." Then, a grocery receipt, $184.23. Highlighted items, oat milk, matcha powder, strawberries, almond flour. Caption, "So your smoothie bowl could match your feed." Next, a picture of me in my nurse scrubs. Hair frizzy, eyes tired, taken at 3:12 a.m., hospital corridor behind me. Caption, "So you could sleep in while I covered the night shift." Silence, no laughter, just wind in the trees. Then, a series of crop selfies, her profile pics, outfit shots, each one edited. Perfect. Fade into a wide photo she never posted, me standing in the background, holding her phone, smiling proudly. Caption, "You edited me out." But I was always there. I turned back to the crowd. Some of her friends had their mouths open. A few had quietly lowered their phones. I wasn't crying. I felt calm. Then I said, "Brielle once told me I ruined her aesthetic. And maybe I do. But the truth is, your aesthetic was built on my exhaustion. On my 3 a.m. shifts, on skipped meals, on missed dates, on prayers whispered in dark parking lots. I don't need to be in your highlight reel. But I deserve to be seen. Because I am part of your story, whether you like the color or not." I stepped back, and I left the mic. I walked into the house, sat on the bottom stair, and waited. My hands were trembling, but not from fear. From release. The party wrapped up awkwardly. Some guests left early. Others tried not to make eye contact. One of her friends, the quiet one with the camera, actually walked past me, paused, and whispered, "That was brave." Brielle didn't speak to me for the rest of the night, but I saw her scrolling through the slideshow again and again, alone on the back porch, her perfect dress catching the glow of the fairy lights, her face unreadable. Something inside her was shifting, and I had no idea what would happen next. The morning after the party, I woke up early. Not by alarm, just out of habit. That's what motherhood does to you. Even on weekends, your body rises before the sun. I made coffee quietly, my ears tuned to the creaks upstairs, but her door stayed shut. I didn't expect an apology. In fact, I had fully prepared for the silent treatment to last days, maybe weeks. She could write the book on how to ignore someone through passive scrolling and AirPod silence. So when she walked into the kitchen 2 hours later, barefoot, hair a mess, eyes red, I froze. She didn't say good morning, just stood there. Then she said, softly, "Did you plan that whole thing just to humiliate me?" I looked at her. I didn't want to be angry anymore. So I said honestly, "No, I planned it because I needed you to see me. Not the version you delete from photos. Me, the one who built the ground you stand on." She bit her lip, sat down across from me. What followed was silence, thick, hesitant, but not cold. And then her voice cracked. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I get scared people won't like me if they know how messy things really are. If they know I don't have the perfect life." That one sentence broke the dam. I realized something I hadn't let myself fully admit. My daughter wasn't cruel. She was curating herself into survival. Because in her world, where worth is measured in likes, reposts, aesthetic feeds, there's no room for messy truths. No room for exhausted mothers with crooked smiles and hospital bags. Everything has to look effortless, even if your heart is cracking beneath the surface. So I told her, "I know what it feels like to pretend everything's okay when it's not. But hiding me, hiding us, that's not survival. That's slow erasure." Her eyes welled up. She reached for my hand. We cried, quietly, fully. And no, things didn't magically fix overnight. There were still rough days, moments of distance, but the air between us changed. The sharp edges softened. She started asking about my day again. She helped with dinner without me begging. One evening, she posted a photo of me on her feed, unfiltered. Just me, laughing at something dumb Milo said. Apron on, hair undone, light catching in the wrinkles by my eyes. Her caption? Not aesthetic, just authentic. This is who raised me, and I finally get it. We're still learning each other, day by day. Sometimes she slips, sometimes I shut down. But there's a thread now, a truth, woven back between us. Not one polished for the internet, but one that can actually hold us up. And if she ever forgets again, I'll remind her. Not with a slideshow, but with the quiet, unshakable presence of a mother who refuses to be unseen. Thank you so much for listening to my story. Your support means everything. If this story touched you or made you think, please subscribe to our channel for more real, powerful stories.